Aster buds.
Hey, Asters! Have you ever wondered what treasures, tools, and mysterious symbols were hidden deep inside the Egyptian pyramids and temples? From magical spells to golden jewelry, we're diving into the fascinating vocabulary of ancient Egypt, and each word unlocks a story thousands of years old. Let's explore these secrets together. Pyramid. Monumental tombs built for pharaohs, often aligned with the sun and stars. They symbolized the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife and were packed with treasures, chambers, and magical inscriptions. Step pyramid. A pyramid with flat platforms like a giant staircase. The earliest known example is the Pyramid of Djoser. It marked the beginning of large-scale stone construction in Egypt. True pyramid. The classic smooth-sided design, like the Great Pyramid of Giza. This design evolved from the step pyramid and became the standard for royal tombs. Mastaba. A flat-roofed rectangular tomb used before pyramids were developed. It was the architectural predecessor to the step pyramid. Mummies. Mummies are preserved bodies of the dead, created through a careful embalming process. The ancient Egyptians believed that preserving the body was essential for the soul's journey into the afterlife. Mummies were wrapped in linen and placed in decorated coffins or sarcophagi. Causeway, a ceremonial stone passage connecting the pyramid to the Valley Temple. It was used during funeral processions and possibly lined with scenes of the afterlife. Valley Temple located near the Nile, it was the entrance to the pyramid complex. Mummification rituals and offerings to the pharaoh were conducted here. Mortuary Temple built adjacent to pyramids, it served as a place to worship the deceased pharaoh and make offerings. Priests performed daily rituals here. Serdab, a sealed chamber housing a statue of the deceased, allowing the spirit, K, to observe rituals through a slit. Capstone, pyramidion. The small stone at the top of the pyramid, often gilded to reflect the sun's rays and symbolize the sun, god Ra. Casing stones. Smooth, white limestone blocks that once covered the pyramid's surface, giving it a polished, gleaming appearance. False door. A symbolic doorway in tombs believed to allow the spirit of the dead to travel between the afterlife and the living world. Sarcophagus. A large, decorated stone coffin used to house the mummified body of a pharaoh or noble. It was often inscribed with spells from the Book of the Dead to ensure a safe journey to the afterlife. Canopic Jars. 4 jars used to store the lungs, liver, stomach, and intestines of the deceased. Each jar was protected by one of the 4 sons of Horus and played a role in the mummification process. Amulet, small charms placed on mummies or worn by the living to provide protection, health, and luck. Popular amulets included the Ankh, Scarab, and Eye of Horus. Hieroglyphs. The ancient Egyptian picture-writing system, carved on pyramid walls and temple columns. Each symbol had a specific meaning, used for religious texts, royal decrees, and tomb inscriptions. Cartouche, an oval-shaped nameplate enclosing a pharaoh's name, symbolizing divine protection. It was carved on tomb walls, sarcophagi, and temple reliefs. Papyrus scroll sheets made from papyrus plants, used to write religious texts, official documents, and sacred spells. Many temple and tomb writings, including parts of the Book of the Dead, were recorded on papyrus. Ushabti Figurines, small statues placed in tombs to serve the deceased in the afterlife. These figurines were believed to come to life and perform labor on behalf of the deceased. Book of the Dead. A collection of magical spells and prayers written on papyrus or tomb walls. It guided the soul through the afterlife, helping it pass the final judgment and reach eternal paradise. Headdress worn by pharaohs, priests, and gods, including the Mummies, which was a striped cloth headdress, and the Atef crown, symbolizing Osiris. These headpieces signified divine power and royal status. Jewelry and gold ornaments, lavish gold necklaces, bracelets, rings, and pectorals worn by the elite. Many jewelry pieces had protective symbols like the scarab and Eye of Horus. Beaded necklaces. Beaded necklaces were popular adornments made from faience, glass, semi-precious stones, or gold. Each color and material held symbolic meaning, like blue for protection and green for rebirth. These necklaces were worn in daily life and placed in tombs as offerings or amulets for the afterlife. Furniture beds, chairs, and storage chests buried with the deceased for use in the afterlife. Many items were intricately carved and inlaid with gold and precious stones. Food offerings. Bread, beer, fruits, and meats placed in tombs to nourish the soul in the afterlife. Depictions of food offerings were also painted on tomb walls to ensure an eternal supply. Anubis Mascot representations of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of mummification and the afterlife. Anubis was believed to guide souls through the underworld and protect tombs. Sacred boats. Wooden or stone models of boats placed in tombs, symbolizing the deceased's journey through the underworld. Some temples also contained ceremonial boats used in religious festivals. Signet rings. Used as personal seals, these rings bore the names of individuals or sacred symbols. Pharaohs and officials used them to authenticate documents and decree orders. Wigs were commonly worn by both men and women in ancient Egypt, especially the elite. Made from human hair or plant fibers, they were often elaborately styled and scented. Wigs protected against the sun and also served as fashion and status symbols. Cosmetic jars. Cosmetic jars held perfumes, oils, and makeup like kohl used to line the eyes. Crafted from alabaster, clay, or stone, these jars were often buried with the dead. Cosmetics were used for both beauty and religious or magical protection. Crook and flail symbols of the pharaoh's authority, with the crook representing leadership and the flail symbolizing discipline. They were commonly depicted in statues and carvings of rulers. Scribes and scribe tools. Scribes were the educated class responsible for writing on papyrus scrolls using reed pens and ink. They recorded laws, prayers, and tomb inscriptions to guide souls in the afterlife. Temple sacred places for worshiping gods and honoring pharaohs, often aligned with solar events. They were centers of religion, power, and learning. Pylon massive gateway walls flanking the temple entrance, carved with images of pharaohs defeating enemies. They symbolized entry into a divine space. Hypostyle Hall. A grand hall filled with towering stone columns, often elaborately decorated with carvings and hieroglyphs. It represented the primeval swamp from creation myths. Sanctuary, the holiest part of the temple, where the statue of the god was kept. Only high priests and pharaohs could enter this sacred space. Colonnade, a row of tall, evenly spaced columns supporting a roof or forming a passageway. These were often covered in intricate reliefs. Obelisk, tall, four-sided stone pillar ending in a pyramidion, placed at temple entrances. It symbolized the sun god Ra and commemorated royal achievements. Sphynx, a mythical creature with a lion's body and a human head, often placed near temples to guard sacred areas. The Great Sphynx of Giza is the most famous example. Peristyle Court. An open courtyard surrounded by columns, where public ceremonies and gatherings occurred. It served as a transitional space into the temple. Sacred Lake. An artificial water basin within temple complexes, used by priests for purification rituals before entering holy areas. Ankh, a cross-like symbol with a loop on top representing life and immortality, frequently seen in the hands of gods offering life to the pharaoh. Eye of Horus, Wedjat Eye. A powerful symbol of healing, protection, and royal authority. It was used in amulets and temple carvings to safeguard the living and the dead from evil. Djed Pillar. A pillar-like symbol representing stability, endurance, and resurrection. It was associated with Osiris and often used in funerary contexts. Was scepter, staff with a forked base and animal head, symbolizing control and power. It was commonly held by gods and kings in temple reliefs. Relief sculpted images raised or carved into stone surfaces, depicting gods, pharaohs, offerings, and rituals. These served religious and storytelling purposes. Bi and Ka elements of the soul. Ka represented life force, and Ba symbolized the personality. Together, they helped the deceased live on in the afterlife and were often mentioned in temple texts. Wall paintings, colorful depictions of gods, pharaohs, and daily life scenes, found in temples and tombs. These paintings served both religious and historical purposes, telling stories of the afterlife and the ruler's achievements. Painted spells and curses. Hieroglyphic inscriptions found on tomb walls to protect against robbers. These spells threatened intruders with divine punishment, ensuring the deceased's peace. Statues of gods and pharaohs. Large stone or metal sculptures placed in temples and tombs to honor deities and rulers. Some were believed to house the spirit of the god or pharaoh, serving as a connection between the mortal and divine realms. Carvings and reliefs. Engravings on stone walls depicting religious rituals, myths, and the ruler's triumphs. Many temple reliefs featured offerings to gods and sacred ceremonies. Now you know the powerful objects and symbols that shaped the world of ancient Egypt. Tell us, which Egyptian item amazed you the most? If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to Aster Buds, and hit the bell icon for more ancient wonders.